Jasmine Patel adjusted her veil in the mirror, the intricate beadwork catching the morning light that streamed through the hotel suite windows. 29 years of dreaming about this moment, and it was finally here. The champagne-colored wedding. Gown hugged her curves perfectly, the result of 6 months of strict dieting and personal training sessions. "You look absolutely breathtaking," her mother whispered, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Jasmine smiled, though anxiety twisted in her stomach. Wesley had been acting strange these past few weeks, distant, preoccupied, constantly. Checking his phone. She'd attributed it to pre-wedding jitters and the stress of his recent promotion at the investment firm. After all, they'd spent 18 months planning this elaborate ceremony at the Ocean View Resort, with over 200 guests and a budget that had ballooned to nearly $50,000. "Has anyone heard from Wesley this morning?" she asked her bridesmaids, trying. To keep her voice casual, her best friend Zoe shook her head. His best man said they're getting ready in the groom's suite. "Everything's on schedule." Jasmine nodded, reaching for her phone to send Wesley a quick text. She paused before pressing send, remembering their silly agreement not to communicate on their wedding day until they saw each other at the altar. A tradition for good luck. She set the phone down with a sigh. An hour later, as the makeup artist was applying her final touches, Jasmine's phone vibrated on the vanity. Her heart leapt when she saw Wesley's name on the screen. Breaking tradition. "Already?" she laughed, reaching for the phone. The laughter died in her throat as she read the message. "I can't go through with this. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." The phone slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the marble floor. The room fell silent as her bridesmaids exchanged worried glances. "Jasmine, what's wrong?" Zoe asked, picking up the phone. Her eyes widened as she read the message. "That coward," she hissed. "That absolute coward." The next 3 hours passed in a blur. Frantic phone calls to Wesley that went straight to voicemail. Her father's face contorting with rage and sorrow. The wedding planner speaking in hushed tones about non-refundable deposits. Guests arriving in their finery, unaware of the disaster. Unfolding behind closed doors. It was Wesley's best man, Trevor, who finally revealed the truth. He found Jasmine sitting alone in a small office adjacent to the bridal suite, still wearing her wedding gown, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "He's been seeing Rebecca from the accounting department," Trevor admitted, unable to meet her eyes. "It's been going on for months. His mother knew she never thought you were good enough for him. Too ambitious, too independent, not the right background." Each word felt like a physical blow. Jasmine thought of all the dinners with Wesley's mother, Georgina, where she'd smiled through thinly veiled criticisms about her career focus and Indian heritage. "The honeymoon," she said suddenly. "Did he take her to Bali? To our honeymoon?" Trevor shook his head. "No, they're in New York. He couldn't bring himself to." "Get out," Jasmine said quietly. After everyone had left, after she'd endured the pitying looks and awkward embraces, after she'd watched her mother pack away the wedding dress she'd spent months searching for, Jasmine sat alone in her hotel suite, staring at the honeymoon tickets on the coffee table. 7 days at a luxury resort in Bali, all prepaid, non-refundable. Jasmine poured herself a glass of champagne meant for the wedding, toast, and drank it in one long swallow. Her phone buzzed again, another text from Wesley. "Can we talk? I owe you an explanation." She deleted it without responding and picked up the honeymoon tickets. All that money, all those dreams, all for nothing. Or were they? A strange calm settled over her as an idea began to form. She wouldn't let Wesley or his judgmental mother take this from her too. The wedding might be ruined, but the honeymoon? That was still hers for the taking. Jasmine found herself in the hotel bar that evening, still wearing the silk pajamas she'd planned to wear the morning after her wedding night. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, eyes puffy from crying, but something inside her had shifted from devastation to determination. The bartender, a kind-faced woman named Delia, kept the drinks coming without judgment. "Another martini?" Delia asked, eyeing the empty glass. "Why not?" "I'm celebrating my non-wedding," Jasmine replied with a bitter laugh. That's when she noticed him, a man sitting at the other end of the bar, camera equipment scattered around his stool. He had tousled auburn hair and was focused intently on the images displayed on his laptop screen. Something about his complete absorption in his work made her curious. "What are you working on?" she asked, sliding onto the stool next to him. He looked up, startled, his forest green eyes meeting hers. "Oh, just editing some photos from a wedding I shot yesterday." He winced. "Sorry, probably not what you want to hear about." "How did you know?" He gestured toward the hotel lobby. "Small. Hotels have big gossip. I'm Nikolai, by the way. Nikolai Bennett. Jasmine Patel, jilted bride." She held out her hand with mock formality. Nikolai shook it, his expression gentle, but not pitying. Their loss, clearly. They talked for hours. Nikolai was a travel photographer who specialized in destination weddings, but preferred capturing landscapes and street scenes. He was supposed to fly to Singapore the next day for another job, but his client had just canceled. "The universe seems determined to mess with both our plans," he said, showing her incredible photos of Balinese temples and beaches he'd shot the previous year. "Bali," Jasmine murmured, an idea forming. "I have 2 first-class tickets and a villa, booked at the Amankila Resort in Bali, starting tomorrow." Nikolai raised an eyebrow. "That's quite a honeymoon package." Wesley wanted the best of everything. Jasmine twisted the empty space on her finger where her engagement ring had been. "And now it's all paid for with nothing to show for it." She looked up at him, feeling reckless and alive for the first time in 24 hours. "Come with me." "What?" Nikolai laughed nervously. "I'm serious. I have 2 tickets, a beachfront villa with separate bedrooms, and 7 days in paradise that I refuse to waste. You just lost your Singapore job. I lost my fiancé." "Why not?" Nikolai studied her carefully. "We just met. I could be anyone." "That's exactly the point. You're not Wesley. You're not part of my perfectly planned life that just imploded." Jasmine leaned forward. "I'm not propositioning you. I'm suggesting an adventure. You get a free trip to photograph one of the most beautiful places on Earth. I get to prove to myself that I can still do something bold and unexpected." "And what does your ex get?" Nikolai asked shrewdly. Jasmine smiled. "The knowledge that his absence didn't destroy me." Nikolai considered for a long moment, then raised his glass. To terrible timing and new beginnings. 20 hours later, they were on a plane to Bali, Jasmine having packed only the honeymoon clothes she'd carefully selected for Wesley's appreciation. As the plane lifted off, she felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. Beside her, Nikolai was already snapping photos of clouds through the window, his enthusiasm contagious. "I still can't believe we're doing this," he said, turning to her. "You realize this is completely insane, right?" Jasmine fastened her seatbelt and smiled. "Exactly. What I need right now." The Amankila Resort exceeded even the extravagant expectations Wesley had set when booking it. Their villa perched on a cliffside overlooking the Lombok Strait, with a private infinity pool that seemed to merge with the horizon. A bottle of champagne, waited on ice with a card that read, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison." A painful reminder of what should have been. "I can ask them to remove that," Nikolai offered, noticing her expression. "No," Jasmine said firmly, popping the cork. "We're celebrating anyway, just something different." Their arrangement quickly settled into a comfortable rhythm. During the days, They explored the island together, Nikolai photographing everything, from ancient temples to local markets, while Jasmine found herself rediscovering simple pleasures. They hiked through emerald rice terraces, swam in sacred water temples, and watched dolphins from a traditional Jukong boat. On their third evening, as they dined on seafood at a beachfront restaurant, Jasmine finally asked the question that had been nagging at her. Why did you really agree to come? Most people wouldn't jet off to Bali with a stranger. Nikolai set down his fork, considering. 6 months ago, my fiancée Elise and I broke up after 7 years together. She said I was emotionally unavailable, too focused on capturing other people's moments instead of living my own. That's harsh. It was true, he admitted. I was always planning the next trip, the next shoot. When you invited me here, something clicked. Maybe I needed to experience something instead of just documenting it. Under the soft glow of paper lanterns, Jasmine found herself sharing the truth about Wesley, how she'd compromised herself to fit his idea of the perfect wife, how his mother had subtly criticized everything from her career ambitions to her cultural background. I kept thinking if I just tried harder, if I was just a little more perfect ... Her voice trailed off. You know what I've learned from photography? Nikolai said, reaching across the table to touch her hand. Perfect is boring. It's the imperfections that make an image memorable. Later that night, as they walked along the moonlit beach, their hands brushed accidentally. Neither pulled away. When Nikolai tentatively laced his fingers through hers, Jasmine felt something flutter in her chest, not the careful, calculated attraction she'd cultivated with Wesley, but something wilder and more authentic. Back at their villa, they lingered on the terrace, the night air heavy with jasmine and salt. When Nikolai leaned in to kiss her, she didn't hesitate. His lips were gentle, questioning rather than demanding. I'm not looking for a rebound, she whispered against his mouth. I'm not looking to be one, he replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. But I'm also not looking to waste this moment wondering what might have been. As they moved inside, together, Jasmine realized she was stepping into uncharted territory. No plans, no expectations, just the present moment and the genuine connection that had formed between them. On the 5th day of their impromptu vacation, reality intruded harshly. Jasmine was lounging by their private pool when her phone rang. Wesley's name flashed on the screen. After 4 days of silence, he was finally calling. Her thumb hovered over the decline button, but curiosity won out. Hello? Jasmine. Wesley's voice sounded strained. Where are you? I've been trying to reach you at your apartment. I'm in Bali, she replied coolly. On our honeymoon. A long pause followed. Alone? That's none of your business anymore. Wesley exhaled audibly. I made a terrible mistake. Rebecca and it's over. I panicked about the wedding, about the commitment. But these past few days without you have been unbearable. Once, those would have been the words she desperately wanted to hear. Now, they just made her angry. You humiliated me in front of everyone I care about, she said quietly. You let me plan our entire future while you were sleeping with someone else. I'll make it up to you, Wesley pleaded. I'll do anything. We can still have everything we planned. After hanging up, Jasmine sat motionless, conflicted emotions swirling through her. Wesley wanted her back. The safe, secure future she'd mapped out could still be hers. But did she still want it? When Nikolai returned from his solo photography excursion, he seemed distracted, his usual enthusiasm dampened. Everything okay? She asked as they prepared for dinner. He hesitated before showing her an email on his phone. I just got offered a major assignment, documenting indigenous communities in Papua New Guinea. 6 months of work, potentially. Career-defining. That's amazing, Jasmine said, ignoring the sinking feeling in her stomach. When would you start? That's the thing. They need me next week. I'd have to fly directly there from Bali. He ran a hand through his hair. I should be ecstatic, but ... The unspoken words hung between them. Whatever was developing between them had an expiration date. That night, dinner was quieter than usual, both lost in their thoughts. Wesley's call had reopened wounds Jasmine thought were beginning to heal, while Nikolai's opportunity reminded her that their Bali bubble couldn't last forever. Back at the villa, as they stood on the terrace watching lightning flash over the distant ocean, Nikolai finally broke the silence. Your ex called, didn't he? Jasmine nodded. He wants me back. And what do you want? Nikolai asked, his voice carefully neutral. I don't know, she admitted. A week ago, I thought I knew exactly what my life would look like. Now everything's upside down. Nikolai stepped closer, framing her face with his hands. For what it's worth, I think you're extraordinary. The woman who invited a stranger to Bali is someone who deserves more than being someone's second choice. As they made love that night, Jasmine couldn't help wondering if this was just another escape, another way to avoid making real decisions about her future. When morning came, she would have to choose, return to the familiar path with Wesley, leap into the unknown. Their last day in Bali dawned with a spectacular sunrise that painted the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Jasmine woke alone, finding a note from Nikolai saying he'd gone to photograph the sunrise and would meet her for breakfast. She dressed, slowly, contemplating the decision before her. Wesley had texted again, offering to fly to Bali to rescue her. The phrasing made her wince, as if she needed rescuing, rather than space to think. At breakfast, Nikolai seemed unusually formal, maintaining a careful distance as they discussed their departure plans. I've been thinking about Papua New Guinea, he said, stirring his coffee. It's an incredible opportunity. You should take it, Jasmine said sincerely. It sounds perfect for you. And Wesley? Nikolai asked, meeting her eyes directly. What? About his offer? Jasmine took a deep breath. I've spent my entire life making safe choices. Dating the right men, pursuing the right career, planning the perfect wedding. When Wesley left me, I thought my world was ending because it didn't fit the plan. She reached across the table for Nikolai's hand. But coming here with you showed me something important. I don't want to go backward to a relationship where I was valued for fitting into someone else's idea of perfection. What do you want? Nikolai asked softly. To stop planning every moment and start living them instead, Jasmine smiled. To find out who I am when I'm not trying to be someone's perfect wife. And us? This connection we found? Jasmine squeezed his hand. I'm not ready to jump from one relationship into another. And you have an adventure waiting that you shouldn't postpone for anyone. Understanding dawned in Nikolai's eyes. You're not coming to Papua New Guinea. No, and I'm not going back to Wesley either. Jasmine felt tears welling up, but they weren't tears of sadness. I've decided to extend my stay in Bali. There's a local conservation group that needs volunteers, and they have housing available. I called them yesterday. Nikolai broke into a genuine smile. You're full of surprises, Jasmine Patel. That's the point. I'm surprising myself for once. Their last evening together, they walked along the beach at sunset, the sky ablaze with color. Nikolai photographed Jasmine standing at the ocean's edge, her silhouette framed by the setting sun, not posed or perfect, but laughing as waves crashed around her ankles. This is how I'll remember you, he said, showing her the image. Completely alive in the moment. At the airport the next morning, they stood at the junction where their paths would diverge, Nikolai to Papua New Guinea, Jasmine back to her new volunteer position in Bali. I have something for you, Nikolai said, handing her a small package. Inside was a handmade journal with a single photograph. pasted on the first page, the sunset shot from their last evening. "For your new adventures," he explained. "No detailed plans allowed, just experiences." "Will I see you again?" Jasmine asked, fighting back tears. "I hope so," Nikolai replied, "but not because we planned it. Maybe we'll just find each other somewhere amazing when we're both ready." As they shared one final embrace, Jasmine realized that the pain of losing Wesley had transformed into something unexpected: gratitude. His abandonment had forced her off her carefully plotted course and into a life where genuine joy, not perfection, could finally be her compass. Walking away toward her new beginning, Jasmine didn't look back. The path ahead was uncharted, and for the first time in her life, it felt exactly right.